Brian, thanks so much, mate. And thanks everyone for coming along to this session. I hope you get a lot out of it. But today we are going to be building our first custom block. So you might have been in WordPress for some time, built some really cool websites over the years, done a lot in the traditional sort of page templating PHP sort of development workflows and stuff like that. But you're wanting to do more in the block editor, and you're realizing that you need to do some custom blocks because you do some custom kind of work. You might be intimidated by that. You might have started playing around, or wherever you are on that journey. I hope that the work that we do today around custom blocks sort of unleashes you to embrace the modern block editor in WordPress. So let's dive straight in. The block editor, without a doubt, is the absolute core of modern WordPress. It's been actually in core for over 2 years now, like I guess 2.5 years, which seems a little bit insane that it's gone that fast, but I guess everything about the last sort of couple of years has been a little bit insane. But an incredible amount of work has gone into the block editor. The development plugin, which is called Gutenberg, you can install that from the WordPress.org plugin repo. It's actually in version 10.6 when I last checked. And that's the plugin where they kind of, they release features for testing before it gets merged into WordPress core. So, great release cycle that going on there. But that plugin has actually had over 100 separate releases of itself. And an incredible amount of work from a huge range of people, and even more people are contributing into that. So not only is the plugin and the block editor improving, but the variety of people that are contributing into that is growing as well, which is really cool to see. But all those improvements, it's not just been about adding features. Performance has improved, user experience has improved, accessibility has improved, and it's great to see that 2.5 years later, that the block editor is certainly growing and stabilizing and becoming of more value to us. But undeniably, it is the absolute core of modern WordPress looking forward. But what's coming? The block editor is starting to sort of step outside of just that content area. Widgets, which we've known in WordPress for a long time, are going to be blockized. Full site editing is a massive deal. I'd love to spend a whole other session on full site editing, but if that's not something you totally understand or even partially understand yet, I totally encourage you to go find some resources around what full site editing is, because it is a big deal. It means a lot for people like us that would build with WordPress and possibly even build themes and everything like that. It changes a lot there. But basically what's happening is that the block editor is no longer just about the content of a page or a post, but it's becoming about the full site. So widgets I mentioned, but the header, sidebars, footer, and globalized content and styling as well is what full site editing is going to do. Features of full site editing are starting to trickle into core now in a sort of an opt-in sort of experience, which is great. So you can actually start to play with these things as full site editing is being developed and maturing, but it's certainly something to keep an eye on. But today, I would like to take you through, obviously, we're going to build some custom blocks from scratch, live coding, which is always fun and intimidating. No one likes typing in front of people. It's kind of hard. You always make typos when someone else is watching, so we'll see how we go. But I am going to be using a particular plugin to sort of help streamline and speed up the whole experience, and it's called Genesis Custom Blocks. Excuse me, sip of water. But this Genesis Custom Blocks, it's a WordPress plugin that provides an admin interface. And I say admin interface, which means that it is in the WordPress admin, and a really simple templating system or templating engine for building custom Gutenberg blocks. What is a custom block? It is a block that looks and behaves or looks and functions exactly as you need. Now, the blocks in core are awesome. There's a whole bunch of really great block library plugins out there that help you do some really cool things. But if you're building stuff for a client, yourself, or a team, and you have to build something that looks and behaves a really certain particular way, you kind of just need to jump into the CSS and really fine tune it, or you might need to write some code to integrate with WooCommerce in a really particular way. So therefore, off-the-shelf stuff just doesn't quite cut it, and you need to build a custom block, and that's what this plugin helps us do. Now, it is important to call out here that this plugin is not dependent on the Genesis framework. Genesis framework is fantastic. It's been around for like over a decade. It's pioneered like premium themes sort of industry in a big way. But this plugin is not dependent on it. You can operate completely independently. In fact, if it is the only plugin you have on your site, you can actually use it completely. There's no dependencies there. I guess it's dependent on WordPress. That's a dependency, right? It is available for free on WordPress.org in the plugin repo. There is a pro version, which you can get part of Genesis Pro, but I just start here. Start with the free one. It is very feature rich. It's not some like light version. Like, it's awesome. In fact, everything that I show you today is done just using the free one. So you'll be able to see how powerful it is. At a very high level, the way it works is in the WordPress admin, you add your block kind of like you would any post or page. Add a bunch of fields. Think about sort of like adding fields like you would to a form. And that's how the end user, the content creators, interact with your custom block. So you add fields, you build out your block templates. So this is where you get to fine tune all your CSS and styling and your integrations and stuff. But please don't be intimidated by this. If you're just a little bit comfortable with HTML and CSS and a bit of PHP, because you might have added, dropped some stuff in the functions PHP file or whatever. You're gonna be okay here. It really is quite easy. You can do some really complex and awesome stuff, but you can certainly get started here. It's not hard, and that's it. You just add the block, do your templates, and your block is ready to go to add to whatever post or page that you want. Who is this for? It is, I would say, WordPress developers. Whether you're like a solo person, freelancer, or you're part of a big corporate web team or part of an agency or whatever, you can pick up this plugin and build custom blocks. And I say junior and senior here. Junior because, like I said, if you're just a little bit familiar in a bit of code, you'll be good. But then also, I know a bunch of pretty awesome senior engineers at agencies and web teams that use this plugin because it really streamlines and it speeds up. It's got a bunch of really good opinions, and so it's pretty cool. Look, it simplifies upskilling yourself around development for the block editor. It really speeds up block production. It simplifies iteration as well. You put a block into the wild, and then the marketing team says, "Oh, we need to tweak this and this and this." It simplifies iteration, and it simplifies integration as well. Third-party plugins like WooCommerce, for example, or even third-party apps and platforms and stuff like that. Look, the plugin allows you to lean in on a lot of the PHP practices that over a decade of WordPress has allowed us to sort of create. So you can really lean on that really robust and mature development environment. So that's pretty cool. Excuse me. Just a little 20-second break. One final thing, start in 3 seconds. One final thing that's worth throwing in here is the whole options versus decisions paradigm. Now, page builders are fantastic and they belong in the WordPress ecosystem and have a strong future. I really believe that. But I've also seen instances, and even with some blocks, even with some core blocks and things like that, where the end user, the content creator, is intimidated by all of the options that they have around styling and content configurations and all sorts of things. And what custom blocks allow us to do is have fine-tuned control over what is passed through to the end user, to the content creator. We're able to make some decisions which enable them to more efficiently work within their content. And I know for brand managers, especially for larger web teams that might have a number of people and a number of content creators building out pages and posts, being able to have that sort of more fine-tuned control over what is ultimately expressed on the front end is pretty cool. So, it's worth just having that at the back of your mind as one of the superpowers of custom blocks. But enough talk, let's actually build something. So I'm going to jump out of this and I'm going to go over to a local WordPress install that I have going. Now, this is pretty fresh, this install. I've got 3 plugins in here. Custom post type UI, great little plugin for just registering custom post types. I'll be showing you a custom block a little bit later that interacts with a post type called reviews. So that's all that this one facilitates. Of course, Genesis custom blocks and WooCommerce, because I do want to show you a cool WooCommerce custom block. I have the storefront theme installed and active. And I have a child theme for it running actually, because we are going to be jumping into the code a little bit. Best practice, do your coding in a child theme. So custom blocks, click here over on the left. Now there's 3 here that I have already, and I'm going to show you those a little bit later. But first of all, let's create a fresh one. So this screen here, is where we get to add our block. The block that we're going to create today is, I'm going to call it a notice block. And let's say the use case is you're running a sale. It's got 24 hours to go. So you want to drop this block onto some key landing page that says, hey, 24 hours to save 30%, grab this coupon before time runs out. For example, therefore we want to create a reusable notice custom block. So let's call it notice. A few settings over here on the right. This slug was automatically generated. Generally, you never touch it. You can edit it, but this is important because it is relevant to our templating later on. Choose our icons. We are going to choose one. Let's puppy dog paw because it's cute. Obviously, you probably choose someone that's a little bit more relevant, but anyway, we're going to go with that one. We can change our block category. Give it a few keywords. This helps in search in the block editor. We can also restrict the post types that our custom block will be available to be used on, but we'll just leave them for now. Now we're going to add some fields. I mentioned before, it's kind of like adding fields to a form. We have 2 locations. We have editor fields and inspector fields. In the block editor, the editor fields appear sort of in the middle, and inspector fields appear over in the right sidebar or right column area. For our notice, we are going to add a field, and we're going to call it text. That's where we would like to write in our message the 24 hours left to save whatever 30%. The field name or slug is just automatically generated. You can edit that, but we are just going to leave it as text for now. Field type, like in any sort of form, we've got a whole bunch of different field types. We're actually going to leave this one as text. So we've kind of got text, but that's fine. Keep it in the editor, and a few other things we can do, but we'll just leave that for now. We're going to add a couple of fields now for our button because we want people to take action when they see this notice. So button text, we'll leave that as text again. I want to make that 50% just to tidy it up a bit. And button URL, this will be a URL field. Once again, 50%. Great. So let's hit publish. Cool, we get a prompt now. The plugin is saying, hey, I'm looking in your themes, I'm looking for a template file, and I'm not seeing it. So you need to add it. The file here that it's looking for, block, notice that it is including, notice that it's looking for notice. That's kind of a little bit confusing. But if I change that, you'll see that this updates. So our block slug needs to match our file names. So what we're going to do now is jump over to I like VS Code. And if you were doing this from scratch, you would have to add this blocks folder, but I've done a few here already that I'll show you later. So that's why I've already got it. But in our active theme, which is our child theme for storefront, we've got this blocks folder. Here's those other 3 ones, but I'm going to create a new one. Call it notice. And in there, I'm going to go block.php, block.css. Now, if I refresh this now, the plugin will say that the file is found. Yep. So see, there's our child theme, there's our folder, there's the notice folder, and then there's the block.php. There's a few different ways you can go about this. The plugin sort of natively allows or accepts, I suppose, but you can reconfigure it So the documentation covers how to do that. So like you can put all your template files in a plugin, for instance, which I know quite a number of people do. But we're just doing things in a theme for now. So let's stub out a little bit of HTML for our block template file. I'm going to give this a div. And inside our div, we're going to have our, span for our text. And then we're going to have an anchor tag for our button. In the div, we're going to give it a class of, obviously you can write your CSS however you want. I'm just doing GCB for Genesis Custom Blocks. And then notice, because that's our block. In the span, no other classes. That should be fine. All right, well that's it. There we go. 4 lines of HTML. That was easy. The next thing we need to do is we're going to write a little bit of PHP, and we're going to use a function called block field. And this function allows us, it's a function that the plugin provides us, and it allows us to interact with any data or content that the end user puts into that form when they add our custom block in the block editor. So that might sound a little bit confusing, but hopefully it makes sense. So we're just going to open up a little bit of PHP here, and we're going to use, there we go, block field, which is our function, and inside we are going to place the slug of the field. Now, if you recall, our text field had a slug of text. Just going to copy that. In the anchor tag, we're going to go button.url. So that was the slug for our URL field. And for the text of the button, we're going to go button text. Okay, that's it. That was nice and easy. What I'm going to do is I want to show you that it's actually already working. Now, we've not done any styling yet, but if we have a look at this, thinking. If we go, oh, there you go. It's already ready for us. Notice with our lovely paw print icon, click that. Here's the text field where we would actually say something like, don't, save 30% now before Monday or whatever. Button text, save now. Button URL. Let's just grab this one. Whoops, sorry. There we go. If I click away, you'll see it is actually rendering a preview for us, which is pretty cool. And if we look on the front end, it'll do the same. So our block is technically done. We've added it, we've built out there it is right there. We've built out the template. We can click on that again, of course, and add some more text and update it again. But we want to add a little bit of styling because it doesn't look like much right now. Now, I don't want to make you watch me write CSS. No one really enjoys that, do they? So here's some I made earlier. I'm just going to paste that in. I'll quickly walk you through what it is though. We're using Flexbox, obviously our GCB notice class there. Using Flexbox for alignment, which is great. A bit of padding, giving it an explicit height, background color, bit of margin for some space, text color, and some font styling. This is our button, bit of padding, background color, text color, and some more text styling. So let's save that. Now, click away, we're into the preview. Oops, sorry, I do have to refresh this page. Just so it updates the loaded CSS. There we go. Doesn't look particularly amazing, but you get the idea. We've got our background, our blue background, our white text, our call to action button, and of course we can, go and edit that and all the content there. Reuse the block on any page that we like. That's pretty cool. Quick 20-second break. Great. Oh, sorry, wrong page. It's starting again. Great. You can see how easy that was. We wrote 20 odd lines of CSS and 4 lines of HTML with a sprinkling of PHP. We have a custom block. So that hopefully inspires you a little bit, but let's have a quick look at some slightly more complex ones, just to show you what can be done. This hero block. Now we have here, you can see we've added some fields. We have an eyebrow field. Apparently, eyebrow, you might have a heading and there's often like a little bit of text above a heading. Apparently those are called eyebrows, so that's a thing. Then we have heading and text, and then we have some text, and then we have button text and button URL. And over the inspector fields, we have a background image for our hero block, and then another image, and I've placed those in the inspector fields. Now, if you look over here, it's this one here, and I actually built it and styled it to make it look like a block that I have on, or that we have on the landing page for Genesis Custom Blocks over on wpengine.com. So it looks pretty cool on the front end. If I click edit, you can see here in the editor, I've got the custom block here. Now it's not doing full alignment. That is some further configurations that I could do within the theme files. But you can see that it's previewing. If I click on it, I get my fields. I get my editor fields, and then I get those 2 image fields. There's the background image, and then there's the other image. You can remove these and edit them, and edit our text and everything like that. We can effectively, like the whole point of a custom block, we can use this block on any page, change the content, and have it look awesome. So a quick look at the code for this one. It's still pretty simple, right? 12 lines of code. We've got a custom class, GCP hero. Got some inline styling for our background image, and you can see I'm using that block field function again, interacting with that the slug for the background image field. Got a container for the content. There's our eyebrow, H1 because this is a hero block, text and anchor, and the image. Each time using that block field function and just interacting with the relevant slugs. CSS, a little bit more going on here, but get the idea. It gives us all our layout, our button styling, and all that sort of thing. So that's pretty cool. Let's have a look at another one. Okay, let's have a look at plugin reviews because this is kind of cool. This is the one that interacts with a custom post type. So this one's a bit simpler. Well, on the fields front at least, we only have one field, nothing in the inspector fields. We just have this one here, which I've called number of reviews. It is a range type, so kind of like a slider, which returns a number in the editor. Minimum of 1, maximum of value, maximum value of 12. But I want to show you what this looks like first. Imagine we were doing, we were a review site. Now your website could be anything. You could be car reviews or accommodation reviews, or in this case, plugin reviews, right? And you might have affiliate links or whatever. And so therefore you have the custom post type for reviews set up. And you might want to drop a block onto a page which presents all your stuff in a really certain way. It pulls in the feature image, links to the archive page for a custom taxonomy that you have for it. There's our heading, there's our excerpt, there is our author avatar and their name, and there's a button there that links through to the review itself. And of course, on the front end, it looks basically exactly the same. So that's pretty cool. I created 4 reviews, plugin reviews, and sort of set them all out in the back end of WordPress earlier. And so that's what it's pulling them all through for these 4 plugins: Genesis Blocks, Elementor, Beaver Builder, and WP Forms. If we look at our code, plugin reviews. Now this is cool because check this out. We get to muck around with WP Query. First of all, we set up a variable, which is number of posts. block value this time. So this is another function available to us in the plugin, but it just fetches the value. It doesn't also render it, which is good. So that's where we get our number of reviews. So that can be set from 1 to 12 or whatever. Then we set up the query, a few different arguments. Obviously the right post type, and post per page is where we interact with that variable. And then we set up the loop, wrap things in a div with our custom class, and we start to sort of just pull through with a bunch of standard WordPress core functions, all the different pieces of information around our reviews, which is pretty cool. If WP query is something that is familiar to you, this will look familiar to you. And being able to leverage that in our templating is pretty awesome. CSS, bit more going on again. I won't go into all the details other than, I'm using grid this time rather than flex for layout, which is pretty cool. So that was that one there, which is not bad. I love being able to use WP query in my custom blocks. Like there's a query block coming in WordPress core, which I think is fantastic. But yeah, custom blocks, sometimes you just need to do something in a really particular way. So being able to do WP query in our templates is awesome. All right, just gonna take another 20-second break. All right, in 3 seconds. Okay, the final custom block that I want to look at is called Loyal Customer. Now, this is the one that interacts with WooCommerce. If any kind of website type requires custom blocks, I would say it is e-commerce. E-commerce always, every single site is different, right? There's always a need for some sort of custom work. But this one here, I call it the Loyal Customer block, because imagine you want to reward previous customers who might have purchased from you at least 3 times before, and you want to reward them with a special coupon which gives them 20%. But you only want to give it to people that have purchased from you before. So therefore they need to be logged in, which of course WooCommerce allows, but they also need to have made a certain amount of purchases, and you can define that. So for this block, we have a title field, text field, that's just sort of set up as normal. And then we have a coupon code field so that we can change that for whatever. But then also, we want to be able to define the minimum number of previous purchases. So sometimes we might want to set that to 1, as long as you've purchased this with us before, here's a coupon. Or maybe you want to make it like our super loyal customers and they have to have purchased it at least 10 times before. So that's how we're setting those fields up. It's worth saying as well that in the database, on this install, as a logged in user, so Rob, I am logged in, I created an order for myself. So I have, in this instance of WooCommerce, made a previous purchase, and I'll show you why that's important later. But in the editor here, if we look at, this is our loyal customer block. Thanks for being awesome. You deserve this. Here's a coupon, WordSesh. Click the coupon to copy the code, which is great. Here are our fields. Thanks for being awesome. You deserve this, WordSesh. Minimum number of previous purchases. Now, watch this. Like I said, in the database, I have made 1 purchase. If I increase this to 2, it renders nothing. On the front end, it renders nothing at all. In the blog editor, it tells us this. We could set up our block template to say something else, but just for now, it just is empty. And if I drop that down to 1, so therefore, myself, Rob, as the logged in user, I meet the requirements, and that's what I get. So quick look at the code for this one. Loyal customer, CSS, a whole bunch of CSS stuff. You don't need to see that. But the PHP, we are using get posts, right? So minimum previous purchases is where we fetch that previous purchases field, like the minimum previous purchases number. Set up a bunch of things for our get posts query. Then we just do an count on the array of returned orders for that current logged in user. That gives us a number of previous purchases that the user has made. And then just if statement around our whole template. If the number of customer orders is greater or equal to the minimum previous purchases, then show all the stuff. And everything else in here is sort of similar sort of things to what we've already covered. So that's pretty cool. Like simple again, but that's a unique idea for something that we could do, in terms of a custom block, and something, integration with WooCommerce, which I think is fantastic. Look, that's it. Thank you so much for everything. I hope you were able to learn something there. Oh, excuse me. If you want to learn anything else about Genesis custom blocks and all the other Genesis stuff, just go here, wpengine.com/Genesis. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time. Hunt me down online on Twitter or wherever, and if you have any questions at all, and I would love to answer them. Thanks, everyone.